Hey, this is C&D Channel. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my post-fight analysis for UFC on FX7. Overall, the card was kind of, for me, it was kind of a mixed bag. Just because there's some weird things that happened, like the no contest with Yuri Alcantara and Pedro Nobre. That one was really odd. There's some reffing stuff with Dan Miragliotta, like with the Habib fight and whatnot, letting him get Tavares get elbowed a lot. The fights too, some of them there's some slick submissions, questionable decisions. I know a lot of people felt that Milton Vieira should have beat Pepe, and some also felt that Daniel Sarafian should have beat CB Dollaway as well. Some fights were kind of snoozers, like Honey March versus Craig, but other fights are pretty good. The head kick at the end by Vitor Belfort really made for a good night, though. A way to send the crowd home happy in a way. So yeah, it was definitely a mixed bag for sure. Vitor Belfort got knockout of the night. Eldemar Alcantara got submission of the night, and Dalloway versus Sarafian was picked as fight of the night. Okay, let's get right to it. Vitor the Phenom Belfort beat Michael Bisping by TKO in the second round. Really interesting fight. I mean, I remember someone actually said, like, I never thought of Vitor Belfort as a smart or intelligent fighter, but he really showed to be a smart fighter here, and that was the case. He found that head kick in the first round against Michael Bisping, and he managed to finish him in the second round. He also was setting up some body kicks, which probably helped set up the head kicks as well. One thing about Michael Bisping's performance here is he's known for high output, and Vitor was pretty much counterpunching all day. So you kind of notice with Michael Bisping that his output wasn't as high as I've seen it. He didn't go for many takedowns as well. So it was definitely, it's kind of vintage Belfort in a way, because it went, past the second round, you don't know what Vitor's going to be like. But he was fighting in a way that was conserving a lot of energy too. So he probably could have gone more rounds and still look good as well. This fight really goes to show that Michael Bisping just cannot win the big one. I mean, every time, it's Chael Sonnen, Dan Henderson, Sean Evans, Vanderlei Silva, or Vitor Belfort. I mean, he can't get past a certain level of fighter. He did beat Brian Stann. That was pretty much his official top 10 win. But Stann, in most people's eyes, was pretty much number 10 in the top 10 of middleweight. Where they go next? I mean, I can see Bisping fight Tim Boetsch. I know they were supposed to fight before, and Boetsch is coming off the loss to Costa Philippou, so that makes a lot of sense. Vitor called out Sonnen. Excuse me. And even calling him a clown and stuff. So that'd be interesting, win or lose, which most likely I can see Sonnen losing. Vitor versus Sonnen makes some sense, actually. There's other guys who can fight, like Hector Lombard wouldn't be too bad. Luke Rockhold. Some people are saying Chris Weidman versus Vitor Belfort as well. So there's no shortage of guys for him to fight. One thing that's really interesting about Vitor, though, is that he only had a shot at Anderson Silva. You know what? The cool thing about Vitor, though, is his only losses are to Anderson Silva and John Jones, and he's beaten everyone else that he's fought. He's looked pretty good. He has quality wins in middleweight. It's funny though that he didn't call out Anderson. He distinctly called out Sonnen and Jones. He didn't call out Anderson. And maybe because they're in Brazil, who knows? But that was pretty noticeable. But yeah, he's at a point in his career, he's lost against Anderson, he lost against Jones. It's kind of hard to justify a title shot with him. But yeah, he can fight at 185, 205. They want to do catch weights at 195. They can probably do that as well. So yeah, the Sutton fight's not bad, but I think there's other fights in middleweight that I'd actually like to see him in. Like Lombard, I thought would be really cool. Or maybe Weidman or Rockhold would be pretty cool as well. Okay, next one, that CB Dalloway beat Daniel Sarafian by split decision. A lot of people had this fight for Sarafian. I can understand why they get CB definitely won round 3. Round 2 would probably be the round in question. Because, the mentality is like Daniel Sarafian was winning round 2 up until he got dropped at the very end of the round. So how do you really judge that round? Because CB, to my knowledge, recollecting the fight, wasn't doing too much. And CB lost the first round. In the second round, it's just one of those things. Do you give it to CB? That was a pretty big major strike, or major happening in the round. Or do you give it to Daniel Sarafian for pretty much taking that round up until that point? And of course, he lost the third round as well. I heard that Daniel Sarafian's actually cutting down to 170. Which is probably good for him. He's noticeably shorter than a lot of middleweights. He's huge, but it looks like he'd be a good fit at 170. He's a good talent. I'd still consider him a prospect despite losing. He's had a long layoff. His cardio's not that great. It could just be because he's in fighting with so much muscle too. CB, he has 2 wins in a row. I'm thinking he should probably fight Honey Marks, who also has 2 wins in a row at middleweight. 3 wins in a row overall in the UFC. Dalloway, though, the thing is, he was using his wrestling really well in the third round. I think he kind of struggled with it because of the movement of Sarafian. Sarafian was using a lot of laterals and moving in and out. It's really hard to take down a moving target. And he was getting beat up on the feet for a while too. So Dalloway, he's kind of like what I call he's in mid-tier purgatory. But he's going to stay in the UFC regardless. But yeah, he's not someone I see with a lot of upward momentum, to be perfectly honest. I see him as a perennial mid-tier in the division. With Sarafian, it's hard to say where his ceiling is. He is 30. Which isn't terrible or anything. He doesn't have a lot of fights. His kickboxing is pretty sound. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is pretty good. He was going for some really cool half guard sweeps, actually. He managed to hit too. So yeah, he's a pretty good fighter, and I'd like to see what he does at 170. Okay, next round after that, Gabriel Gonzaga beat Ben Rothwell by submission, guillotine choke in the second round. Gonzaga was finding a home for that right hand on Ben Rothwell. Someone said this on a forum, and I gotta agree. It's even though Rothwell is reinventing himself, losing weight doesn't mean you're gonna be a better fighter, and it's kind of true too. I hate to say it, because I thought he was really reinventing himself after the Schaub win, and in a sense he is by being more fit, but you still see his defense isn't that great. His ability, Rothwell's ability to get back to his feet when he's taken down is actually really good for a heavyweight. I like that Gonzaga isn't being a pure kickboxer. There's some bouts against Brendan Schaub, for example, where it's man, did you forget that you're a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, with all these accolades. But and as of late, you've been seeing him use his jiu-jitsu. It's interesting seeing him win by a guillotine choke, I guess. Seeing it on other heavyweights, it's like you can't really wrap your legs around the guy. So it's pretty cool seeing it. I can't recall seeing too many guillotine choke wins at heavyweight. A lot of heavyweights have really huge necks as well. But yeah, good win for Gonzaga. It's really hard to say where he is because he's a well-rounded fighter. His gas tank isn't too great, but he is a veteran. I'd say he's kind of a gatekeeper at this point, which isn't too bad. He'd be a good test for young up-and-comers. He still has name value to fight the veterans if you need to put him up against other veterans as well. As far as the next fight goes, I mean, the winner of Mike Russo versus Sean Jordan, give him like a Chuck Congo or a Roy Nelson. And those three too, Nelson, Congo, and Gonzaga, are kind of like three gatekeeper types of the heavyweight division. Rothwell, though, gosh, this guy's really inconsistent in the UFC. It's like win-loss, win-loss, win-loss for him, Loser of Jordan versus Russo. If you want to kind of give Travis Brown a tough fight, that's winnable. Ben Rothwell, Travis Brown isn't too bad either. So yeah. Okay, next fight after that, Habib Nurmagomedov beat Thiago Tavares by TKO in the first round. I picked this fight wrong, pretty much. The thing with Habib is he's definitely an up-and-comer. He's beating the right guys for someone so kind of new to the UFC. He's coming off. He has the win over Charles, then he beat Tebow, then he beat Tavares, which is pretty good. Pretty good resume for like first three fights in the UFC. He still has issues on the technical aspect of the fight game still. I mean, he really loops his punches a lot. He's very wild there. He hits like a truck, though. And yeah, Tavares, he got uppercutted and ground and pounded. One of the stories of this fight, too, was with the reffing, with Mergliata just really letting Habib elbow Tavares just forever. I mean, it was just, some people are saying, yeah, he was going for a sweep. I think he was just grabbing his leg for dear life. But yeah, and Tavares, he's so inconsistent. I mean, this guy just cannot get 3 consecutive wins in the UFC. I'd say, another guy that's like that is like Mac Danzig. So I'm thinking Tavares Danzig kind of works. With Habib, I think a good step up would be the winner of TJ Grant versus Matt Wyman. It's definitely like a incremental step, but not like, it's not a big step. Like, you don't have to give him like the winner of Pettis versus Cerrone or something like that. It's still step up the ladder. And then lightweight, small steps are pretty much what's going to happen considering the depth of the division. It's usually a lot of small steps for a lot of these fighters to get to a title shot. But yeah, Habib's good. His aggression, he's really strong. Sambo background, he does have good wrestling. It's a couple technical holes here and there, but otherwise, he's definitely a prospect that's coming up in the division. Okay, on to the prelims. Godofredo Pepe beat Martin Vieira by split decision. I personally didn't agree with this decision. I thought Vieira won rounds 1 and 3. Pepe definitively won round 2. I thought Vieira won round 1. Round 3, I guess, was the questionable round, but Vieira got like the takedown on Pepe. He wasn't just holding him either, like he was hitting him and stuff. And even in the stand-up, Vieira in the 3rd round was hitting Pepe clean. So I actually don't really know what it is that was kind of questionable. I thought it was kind of clear cut, to be honest. Where it was like something like CB Dalloway versus Daniel Sarafian, I can see the argument, especially with that second round, where like something major happened, you know, that could definitely change the view of the fight. But this one, I thought it was kind of clear cut, Milton Vieira, to be honest. You know, with Pepe, his striking it's all right. You know, he's kind of he's still kind of throws haymakers. Definitely, he's got a personality with the red hair and whatnot. His jiu-jitsu's really good. He had a really cool Khmer sweep. Took Milton Vieira's back, you know. But it's really hard to say where he goes from here. You know, he's just kind of. I mean, both these guys should pretty much just fight the lower to mid tier of their division. I don't know, like. I hate that Pepe's still young, but there's nothing I see in him that really screams like prospect to watch out for, to be honest with you. Vieira's been in the game forever. You know, he's pretty much where he is. What you've seen from him, he's pretty much where he is. But yeah. Okay, next fight after that, Honey Marks beat Andrew Craig by unanimous decision. Yeah, not a great fight. And Honey Marks, you know, has really put some. He's a good fighter. It's just he's put some very what's the term? Uninspiring performances, I guess. I mean, they're just you know, like against Carlos Belema, takedown, top control. This one, takedown, top control. I mean, it's one thing to be a grinder, and I kind of get that, but it's like he's kind of a grinder, but not a finisher. You know, it's like that's what surprises me. It's just you don't see much ground and pound with the guy. Don't see many submission attempts or anything like that. So it's really tough to say, you know. As far as being a because he was Honey Marks, I thought would be a pretty good prospect. Trains at Nobu now, has solid Muay Thai, good wrestling, good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, still pretty young, you know. But like, and he's winning, but he's not winning really impressively to really, and he's not winning in a way that shows huge improvement, and that can be kind of troubling, you know. Hopefully there's a little more sense of, I guess he has a lack of sense of urgency. Andrew Craig, you know, he just couldn't handle the wrestling. He was always game. That's one thing, that's kind of the story of Andrew Craig's UFC career up to this point. I think he's still a prospect. Real athletic guy. Really good cardio too, man. This guy. And strong mental game. I mean, like I said, he's always in the game. But, you know, he definitely won the third round. But, yeah, you know, this is just a setback for him. But, you know, I actually wasn't very high on Andrew Craig as a prospect. But, yeah, I got to say, I mean, Marks may have won, but I think Andrew Craig seems a little more, as far as prospects go, I can see him get, like, pretty far. With Honey Marks, I mean, I hope. You know, I'm not against people that are grinders per se, but, you know, at the same time, I'm not seeing a lot of improvement with him from fight to fight. What I saw against Carlos Belema is pretty much what I saw against Aaron Simpson. It's pretty much what I saw against Andrew Craig. So, yeah, as far as who Mark should fight next, CB Dalloway works. With Craig, just more lower to mid-tier fighters of the middleweight division. Hey guys, that's been pretty impressive here. It's Nick Lentz beating Diego Nunes. You know, man, Lentz just handled Nunes pretty easily. You know, took him down, got him against the cage, would ride him a lot of times, threw some good ground and pound. Just didn't let Nunes breathe. Now, Diego Nunes, he got out of Nobu now, is fighting at X Gym. you know, one thing about Nunes, I've seen stronger, maybe because he fought a really good aggressive wrestler, but I've seen stronger takedown defense and a stronger ability to get back to his feet. But he did fight a guy like Nick Lentz who's just on a guy like glue. So maybe he couldn't handle that. But yeah, he you know, this definitely isn't. This is like the worst Diego Nunes I've ever seen. But nonetheless, Nick Lentz is gonna be, you know, a terror for a lot of guys. He reminds me of Darren Elkins in a sense, just kind of a grinder, but a guy that's always gonna be stuck on his opponent like glue. Gonna make life miserable for his opponent for 15 minutes. Lenz's striking, it kind of had something to be desired. Nunes was kind of just hitting him and stand up. But, you know, his wrestling and jiu-jitsu, pretty solid. The fight with Darren Elkins actually doesn't sound too bad for Nick Lentz. You know, other fights. I mean, if you want to really put one off there, you give him like the winner of Eric Koch versus Ricardo Lamas, or maybe the winner of Dustin Poirier versus Cub Swanson. If you want to kind of put him out there, if not, I think a fight with Darren Elkins kind of makes sense. I don't know if it'll be the most aesthetically pleasing fight, but considering where they're both at, it actually makes sense to me. I don't know with Lentz's performances though. One thing that has to be said is, like, this guy is always on the prelims. I mean, this guy is, same with Elkins actually. I mean, those two guys are just always on the prelims. They just, you know, there's something about them. I think it's mainly their fighting style that they fly so far under the radar that they just can't seem to get main card spots. You know, it's kind of troubling because it's pretty much a cost of not being the most exciting fighter. Pretty much is that, you know, you don't really get main card spots sometimes. Hopefully Lentz will see a main card sometime in 2013, because I think he's, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's never been on a main card. Next round after that, Edson Barboza beat Lucas Martins. Submission via strikes in the first round. I like Edson Barboza's move to I believe it's at the Ricardo Almeida / Hendo Gracie gym, if I'm not mistaken. He trains with Frankie Edgar. You know, he showed pinpoint striking. Caught Lucas, you know, with a nice left and get some follow-up ground and pound. He looked like he was there, you know. I mean, he didn't look flat or anything at all. You know, I just liked what I saw from Barboza. I know he used to train at the Armory, and now he trains at a much better place. Still a prospect in the division, you know. I think he should just fight more lower to mid-tier guys in the division. I can't say who exactly, but you know, I'm very much looking forward to seeing Barboza fights. He has a really aesthetically pleasing style. He's fun to watch, technically sound. You know, hope to see more from him. With Martins, you know, he fought Barboza. You know, I mean, on short notice, tough guy to fight. You know, he was in it. You know, but he's just outmatched here. You know, if they're gonna bring him back, just more lower to mid tiers of the division. Okay, next fight after that, Yuri Alcantara. I always say Alcantara, but a lot of people, I think it's Alcantara. Beat or had a no contest against Pedro Nobre. You know, everyone pretty much felt that Pedro Nobre was acting. I believe Dana White did too. They showed the instant replay and showed that there was no strike to the back of the head. Kenny Florian was actually just saying, like, you can tell he was kind of angry because like he thought that Nobre was lying here, and I can't really blame him. You know, you saw the replay. The big strike that you see was an elbow that hit the ear, And there's some follow-up ground and pound. He didn't look super strong that I feel did maybe hit the back of the head. Pedro Nobre made it seem like it was so, like, these significantly strong strikes. A lot of people are saying this, and he fights at flyweight. He was getting dominated. He got back mounted, and he couldn't get out of it. It's hard not to think that he wanted a way out. I mean, seriously, I don't know how else to say it. And it came across like he was acting here. And also, with Mergliata too, if he, it's one of those things that's like, did he see strikes to the back of the head, or like, was it Nobre's like acting that influenced Dan Mergliata here? So yeah, not really impressive from Pedro Nobre. I'm sure he was hurt, but not due to strikes to the back of the head. I think he was just getting beat up and nowhere to go, and it's just kind of his way out, to be perfectly honest with you, Alcantara, man, I've always been impressed with this guy. I didn't even know he can cut down to 135, and he did. And I think he's going to be a terror at 135. This guy's really good. His striking is great. He has good wrestling. It's really strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's huge for the weight class, too. This guy used to fight at 155. He knocked out Ricardo Lamas at 155 with a head kick, I think it was head kick. I'm not too sure now. I'd have to double check. But he knocked him out nonetheless. So, yeah, I expect big things from Alcantara. And I hope, I'm curious to see who they give him next. Maybe a Mizugaki, or he's coming off that win over Jeff Hoagland, or I know Alex Caceres is going to fight someone soon. Maybe the winner of that fight. I think Alcantara, though, he's more. I think he established himself better more in the mid, if not even the upper tier. If you want to even just give him like Brian Bowles' return fight, Yuri Alcantara, you can do that, because I kind of think that Yuri, because also Yuri's in his early 30s, so the quicker you can get him to the title shot, the better. So I'd actually like to see them push Alcantara pretty far and pretty quickly if they can. I just think he has a skill set to do really well, and I think what you see from him now is pretty much the best you'll see, to be honest with you, considering his age. Okay, Yuri's brother Eldemar Alcantara beat Wagner Prado by knee bar in the first round. I heard that Alcantara, I know he fights at middleweight. I hear he's actually thinking of going to welterweight. So Prado was beating him up in the stand-up. I mean, he was hitting him with some bombs. But Alcantara just kind of, didn't even face him sometimes. Prado's got some really bad submission defense. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me to see him get cut. His submission defense, his groundwork in general just needs a lot of work. I mean, he kind of gave him that knee bar, pretty much. Good for Alcantara, though, for finding that knee bar. You know what I mean? He wasn't gonna win the stand up, so he went for something a little more high risk. Man, it took a while, dude, because he was setting up like a toe hold, and then he finally got a knee bar, and then Prado tapped. If Alcantara goes down to welterweight, or even middleweight, that'd be good for him. It's hard to say. I think he's just fight more lower to mid tier the division. And finally, Francisco Trinaldo beat CJ Keith by arm triangle choke in the second round. Yeah, Keith, I mean, I expect him to get cut after this, because it's like 2 losses in a row now, both by finish. Trinaldo, good fighter. He's in his early 30s. He's been around the block, but really strong guy. Has a lot of power and a really good ground game, good ground and pound as well. So I think it's just fight more lower to mid tier divisions. Yep. that's pretty much it for my UFC on FX7 post-fight analysis. If you have any comments, just leave them below. That's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.